want to thank everybody for tuning in to this week's episode of the Stage is Mine podcast. I'm your host, Terrance Hill, presented to you by Double ETV.
Yeah. We gotta rise up. Rise up. Yo. Go for broke, give everything, better yet, give your all. They don't wanna see you win, nevertheless, show evolve. Wanna see my demise, you can be in for a surprise. Cause the sun ain't about to set, now it's about to rise. Come hell or high water, we gotta rise up. Despite the storms of life, man, we gotta rise up.
This week, I'm so delighted to have as a guest a good friend of mine. His name is Wes Milton. He is a photographer, he's an actor, and he's the owner of The Creative Raven. Wes, how you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, it's definitely a privilege and honor to have you on the program. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Wes, originally from Montgomery, Alabama, engaged to a beautiful and awesome fiance named Tina. I'm a cat dad to Ladybug. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a little over 5 years sober, and I'm a mental health advocate.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about addiction. You know, what was there something in your life that transpired to alcoholism, or you just having fun and just kind of got hooked on it? Like what transpired?
I don't think it was necessarily like one specific thing. I think it was a mix of different things. It definitely, from my background and where I came from, it was the cool thing to do, especially starting out at a young age, even in high school or whatever. But I have a lot of social anxiety, and I was always the weird kid growing up, and it was hard for me to feel like I fit in. I think looking back, I actually did fit in just fine, but I never felt like I could be myself without having some of that like liquid courage in my body. As it progressed, after 21, all the way to like 26 and 27, the things we go through in adulthood, friends, family that go their separate ways, death. My mom died when I was like 17. So I never thought that played such an impact. But, looking back at it after 5 years of sobriety, I'm like, well, that definitely was a piece in there. So it was just a lot of different things just mixed together. That was my comfort zone for the longest time, was just, drowning in a bottle.
Were you able to be a functioning addict?
Yeah, I would wake up, I would drink, go to work, and whether it was theater, whether it was a retail job, would either chug a beer or take a shot like in the parking lot, go to work, lunch break, drink a little more, go home. I wouldn't get plastered. I mean, I did on occasion. I would say functionally, like, it was enough to get me to the spot of feeling comfortable. If I ever got sloshed, it was purely by accident. And I only ever got caught, I think, at work like 2 times where somebody smelt it on my breath. And it was very much like a slap on the wrist kind of thing, where it was like, here's some gum, like, you shouldn't be doing that before work. By that point, though, when people really started to notice, even if it was just a few people, by that point, I was way far too gone. Alcoholism itself. And by that point, I already kind of admitted it to myself, but I didn't quite know what to do at that point. I had talked to a few people. Yeah, I would say I was pretty functional. Nobody knew. Tina knew how much I drank, but nobody else really did. So it was kind of a shock to a lot of people when I finally came out about it.
Right. At that particular time when you was going through that, what led you to say, hey, I need to get help? And then also, Tina or some friends of yours, did they kind of intervene and say, hey, man, you kind of getting out of control with this?
Yeah, that was kind of the turning point, was around 2015. I think I turned 26 that summer, and it transpired from like July of 2015 all the way to like May of 2016, I believe. And I was working a theater contract, and there was not like an old guy. I mean, he was just like in his 40s, but he was sober, and I shared a dressing room with him, and I just kind of like asked some questions. And he kind of told me like a very brief, in a nutshell, rundown of his journey. And then he like looks at me and he was like, "You can too." And I was like, "I don't know what that means, but okay." And as the year progressed and we went back to Birmingham, Alabama, where we were living, that "you can too" just kind of stayed in my thoughts, and I didn't really understand it. And then probably around the time of October 2015 is when I started noticing it had already started happening, but I noticed it became more frequent where my body craved alcohol. I had built up such a tolerance that it needed it on a daily basis. And so I would wake up, shaking. If I didn't have a certain amount of beers or a certain amount of fluid ounces or whatever, like I would start shutting down and get the sweats and everything. A lot of anxiety that you kind of feel when you have a normal hangover, just times 10. And so as that year kind of progressed, I noticed I had gotten to the point, especially around like Christmas time, where I was just depressed. At that point, I was like, I don't want to drink, but at this point, I'm so far gone that my body has to drink in order to survive. I started reading about how to safely like detox at home. And the main thing it said was like, be cautious of like delirium tremens, which is the main form of death for somebody who is an alcoholic. It's just basically your body shuts down, you hallucinate, you can have some fatal seizures and things like that. Because alcohol, goes through your liver and all that. It affects more of your central nervous system overall. And that really scared me. And I was like, okay, well, I'll wean myself off. I did not have the willpower for that. And I tried, but then it was, I would do good for like 3 or 4 days. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm going to go buy a bottle of bourbon or Jack Daniels or something. And then it was straight back to it. All the while, Tina knew what was going on. Bless her for putting up with me through it all. However, she had her moments where, especially when it came to hard liquor, where she basically with that, because I was on that like very first like stage or whatever you call it, where I was becoming an angry drunk. I would just start picking fights if I had any type of liquor. And she finally was like, no more liquor. Like, if you want to wean yourself off with beer, like you're working towards that, that's fine. But if you keep this up with liquor, and especially because I started sneaking it as well. And if you do know Tina, you can't hide anything from her. She's always gonna know. And so she gave me like an ultimatum. And then a couple months went by and we were headed back up to the same theater contract in North Carolina. And it was a weird move out situation. Mixed with my drinking and like packing off, and it was an exhausting day. And so we were driving up there and I was just so anxious. I hadn't had a lot of booze in me, so I'm just sweating and my body's starting to kind of go into shock. And I'm like, it was only like a 4 or 5 hour drive, but I was like, I can't make this drive. I need to get a hotel. Where were we? Kind of north Alabama, northeast of Birmingham. Get a hotel and stay a night. The next night, I feel worse, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to take another day. And Tina's up in North Carolina, already starting to work. One night, I just start going into shock. I start heavy sweats, shaking, tremors, and start hallucinating, basically. The wall, like, kind of filled up with, like, these weird spiders, which is, I don't like spiders, so I guess it was, subconscious fear.
Right.
The floor kind of like started to like melt and look very liquid, which is very metaphoric now, like the whole drowning aspect. But then over in like the closet area was like this little bitty man, basically like an infant toddler, but he had the face of this old man with these razor sharp teeth. He was just laughing the whole time at me, but he was talking to me without actually talking. It was like he was just talking into my thoughts. He was basically just telling me to go to my car, get my gun, and kill myself. And all of this would be taken away. It scared me. I collapsed. I had a come to Jesus meeting, essentially. It was like, if you can help me get through this, like, I'll never do it again.
Right.
So I ended up calling about 5 different people. 3 of them who I knew were sober, and it's like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Central Time. My buddy Eric, who was the one that said you came too. He happened to be working a night shift job and up north, Midwestern New York, north, and he happened to call me back immediately and basically told me, he was like, yeah, this is probably what's happening. Like he was just very honest. He was like, you're probably on the brink of death. He's like, you can do a couple things. You can call an ambulance, or you can go buy some bread, something like soak alcohol up, but also, while it's counterproductive, go buy more alcohol. Go drink enough to where your symptoms go away. Find a ride, get to North Carolina, be with Tina where you're comfortable, and find help there. That was really the best option that I had, because I really didn't want to go to the hospital alone. Called a couple friends. Do you remember Mark?
Yeah.
You in?
Oh yeah.
So Mark and his ex-girlfriend at the time drove from the other side of Alabama to come get me, and drove me to Chattanooga, where I had some friends from North Carolina meet us in Chattanooga, pick me up in my car, drive me there. And from there, that's kind of where I went to Detox and everything. I'm blessed to have Tina. I'm blessed to have my friends, because when I finally did go to Detox and was speaking to the doctor there, I told him everything that happened. And while he couldn't medically diagnose anything from not being there in that moment, he was like, if everything you were saying is absolutely true, then you were probably like just a few hours from a fatal cardiac arrest or something. I've been in, near-death experiences before, like with a 3-wheeler accident when I was a kid and some other things. But like, that's the one that, like, I don't know, it's the little guy in the corner in the closet.
Right.
Like, I don't know if that's pure hallucination. I don't know if that was a demon. I don't know if it was subconscious. I don't know what that was, but I still see his face a lot. It was terrifying. All of that is what basically made me get my shit together.
Right. Now, what was it like being in a detox facility, and what do you remember about that particular experience?
Getting there was a wild ride. There was nowhere to really get treatment that I could find. Every place was full in the Asheville area. I went to one place. They were full, but they kind of like talked me. They gave me tips on how to find a place. And they were like, go to an emergency room, tell them you're trying to detox from alcohol, and they will find you a place. They'll probably house you for a day or two, but they will find you a place. So I ended up going to a hospital in Sylvan, North Carolina. They were nice at first, but they put me in this small, like 3 by 5 foot hospital ER room for like 36 hours, no food. They check my vitals every 4 hours or 5 hours, which I think is standard, but they were mean. Like, they were absolute pricks to me. I understand, like, if the police brought me in and I was here against my will or something, that's one thing, but like, I'm here because I chose to be here. Tina, like, wasn't even supposed to come visit me, but she like snuck in, brought me food. They put you on like sedatives and anti-seizure medication. And finally and like, I wasn't even supposed to have my laptop with me, but I wasn't supposed to have anything, but they never checked my bags. If I didn't have my laptop or like my cell phone, I don't know what I would have done, but it was miserable.
Yeah.
They finally found me a place in 30 minutes south of Asheville, North Carolina, at this place called Party Hospital, which I think is funny. It basically was a psych ward. They take everything away from you. You have to, if you've seen any like documentaries or reality shows or in movies, like, they literally take your shoelaces, your belts, like everything away from you, search you head to toe, go through all your belongings. Even my prescribed medication they took away. I was real scared because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but it ended up being one of the best experiences of my life there. The food was incredible. There was like 2 or 3 people close to my age. Everybody else was pretty much 50s or above. People that had seen a lot of crazy stuff throughout their life, but people who had also wasted away a lot of their life. People there battling alcohol, battling meth, battling heroin, a lot of heroin.
Right.
But people, on the other side that, schizophrenic.
Mm.
Since we were in a psych ward, I saw a lady, basically get electric shock therapy or whatever. But there wasn't much to do. I mean, you could have books. You had a designated time to watch TV, which was pretty much the news. You had a certain amount of time that you could use the kitchen from morning till dusk. And then they had some sponsors. They had like group warm-ups in the morning. They had AA and NA, Narcotics Anonymous, different times, other kind of support groups that would come in. But there wasn't anything to do. And like you either had to hate it or make the best of it. And I remember one of the funnest things that we ever did was you just literally just walk the hallway in this like basically a square, and the nurse's station is like right in the center. And you just walk in this square and you just walk back and forth. And like that's how you got your exercise. That was kind of the first moment where I started to figure out, outside of the creative stuff, kind of what I wanted to be as far as like a mental health advocate. Because especially for the older crowd, 50s and above, they were telling us stories about how this is like the third or fourth time they've been in this place for their addiction.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name to save the life of me, but there was this little old lady pushing 80 who was an alcoholic. And she just told me that I was like the sunshine of her day, and just the way I talked to people. And it really made me think when I got out, like, standing up for people with addiction, with mental problems like depression and anxiety, but trying to be empathetic to people, understand, connect, make people feel like they're not alone. That's what I kind of learned from it.
Yeah.
It was a good experience.
How many days were you there?
About 4 or 5. Felt like 2 months, but
Right. Yeah. So once you get out of detox, what's that process like?
well, they encourage you to always go to a rehab retreat kind of thing, where you're doing like a lot of spiritual growth for yourself, a lot of yoga, like that stereotypical retreat that you see in movies. Like it's a real thing. It cost a lot of money. My insurance barely covered the detox itself. Before I went to this detox facility, I had spoken to my uppers at the theater. My artistic director and executive director, told them everything that was going on, being like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, you can fire me. And they didn't. They were fully understanding. They were like, take as much time as you need, and when you're ready, come back. And your job's here. I wanted to get back to work. I really wanted to just jump back into theater with this new mindset. I think I spoke about it on my YouTube channel, but I remember like going out of that hospital, Tina's driving me back an hour back to the theater, and everything was just so crisp and clear. Like I haven't seen the sky that blue, or detail in the trees, detail in the clouds, like for years. Before that, everything was just so foggy all the time. I tried going to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not something I really talk about too much because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. But AA itself just did not work for me. I think it comes from that social anxiety aspect. I can do it. If I really need it, then I'll do it. I always encourage other people that I help, or people that reach out to me. I'm like, even if you're not fully sober yet, just go to an AA meeting and just listen. Just listening can be really helpful, but I'm not one to just speak and share in a public group setting. My platform is more like YouTube, sharing. Right. I feel more comfortable. Right after the theater contract ended, kind of when, I was busy after detox, and that kept my mind always working. I then didn't have work for several months. I ended up relapsing for like 2 months-ish. Didn't get, as bad as it had been, but it was a lot of binge drinking. After that, I was just kind of like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. Because I started feeling the effects, the tremors and everything kind of came back just on a more mild scale. And the hangovers were worse than they ever were before that I remembered. It was the thought of that little man in the corner, the thought of dying, just kind of, I was like, yeah, I can't do it. Like, I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Right. How important is a support system if someone is, struggling with any type of addiction, not just alcohol addiction, but addiction in general? How important were your friends in that particular time? People that you can call and talk to, people that's not judgmental. How was that process for you?
I think even just having, it doesn't necessarily have to be friendship. It can be family too.
Sure.
I only have one or two people from my actual family that are like, related by blood that I'm close to. Everybody else in my family, I'm not close to at all. So my friends are my family. Those two actual family members I have, Tina and her family, and then, all of my other friends, Colin, Mark, Chris, you guys are my family. It's important to have, whether you have an addiction or not, people that you can easily talk to, whether you're having a good day, whether you're having a bad day. When it comes to addiction, that network of people is everything to you. And that's partly why, even though I don't go to AA myself unless I absolutely have to or need to or push myself to, AA itself can give you that. It can give you that group of people. If especially for addicts who feel alone or don't have many supportive family members or friendships, or they've gotten so rock bottom where all of their relationships have been broken and abused because of their addiction, then they may find that solitude in AA.
Right.
For me, I was just very lucky that while my relationship with Tina was on the rocks for a little bit, I was very fortunate that I hadn't completely broken that relationship or fractured any other relationships with my friends.
Right.
Because when you yourself can't fully function normally, you can't always just fall on yourself. At least having that support group to fall on and then push you back up and say like, and sometimes that's just tough love. And it's like, bro, you need help. Like, go get help.
Right.
Sometimes it takes other people, like my friend Eric saying you can too, just planting that seed in me to really make me think over the course of 9 months. Had I not had any of that, if it was just me, I'd probably be dead.
Yeah. When you was talking about, those who maybe somebody's just kind of catching the middle part of this, but Wes's fiance, her name is Tina. Even though I know you've known Tina for a really long time. So while you were going through this particular process, how important has she been, as far as being a rock for you and, not judging you, always trying to be there to support you? How important is that for you?
A lot, very, a lot of tough love at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think anybody that would have been in her shoes when I was drinking every day, and even in the first, maybe month of sobriety, I don't want to speak for her, but I'm sure that there were doubts that went through her mind, after putting up with me for so long.
Yeah.
But she always told me she was proud of me. Like every day that, every extra day of sobriety, it was like, I'm really proud of you. She gave me a lot of tough love. Anything that would be taken mean that she did say to me was all out of, protecting herself.
Sure.
Because she had to, especially, at that time. I mean, Tina's always been the boss. Like, she's always made more money than me, which I'm totally fine with. I don't think that men should make more money than women. I think men can make more sometimes, women can make more sometimes. But she was the breadwinner. During that time, I was like mostly jobless, was hardly bringing in any money. So she was basically ready to kick my ass to the curb. But I'm very thankful that she did not. And I tell her that I'm thankful, almost every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's my rock. Like, as I said, I wasn't for her or a few others, like I'd probably just be laying on the street somewhere dead. And I think everybody needs a Tina in her life. She can get on my nerves sometimes, but don't we all? And but no, she's literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. And to go through that experience with anyone else, I don't think it would have lasted,
Yeah. That's awesome, man. What led you moving to Atlanta?
Well, Birmingham just wasn't quite working for us. Birmingham was kind of where my alcoholism spiraled, and I just kind of wanted to get away from that. We really wanted to try to get into the film business in Atlanta since it was like really growing and booming. And we did a lot of like background and extra work when we first got here, and kind of wasn't really for us. It was a lot of like, just a group of like 50 people and just stand here, move here. It was just not really for us, but we liked the city life. We liked how diverse Atlanta was. I mean, we lived all of our life in Montgomery and then a couple years in Birmingham. And it's even like we're, moving from Lawrenceville to Norcross, and like even this neighborhood in Lawrenceville. I mean, every kind of ethnic, cultural, racial background like lives on this street.
Yeah.
I grew up in all white neighborhoods. I've lived in neighborhoods in Birmingham where we were the only white people. But just being here, and it's like everything is so diverse.
Right.
It kind of opens your eyes to a whole new world, like what's out there, and background, skill level sets, all of it.
How many years have you been living in Atlanta?
I think we're about to go on 5. I think we moved here in 2017. Yeah, we're about on our 4th or 5th year.
Okay. Tell us about your company, The Creative Raven.
Yeah, a multimedia company specializing in photography, videography, merchandise, and different types of artwork, music video production, independent film production, as well as producing. One of the big things I'm trying to get more into right now, especially with what happened in Atlanta specifically in 2020, with a lot of racial divide, is I'm trying to produce and promote more work from minorities, more work from people of color, because I mean it's starting to happen, but a lot of times, theater, especially theater, they will have a whole season of shows and have one quote unquote like black play, in their season, and it's like they'll have a white director. It's they might have a black cast, but it's like you need to hire people of color in your technical field, your playwrights, your screenwriters, people behind the camera, all of it. And so that's something I'm really trying to get more into. And that was, I mean, even with working on Here We Go Again with you, like that was a big thing for me. I'm like, I want this to be the most diverse cast production process as we can possibly be for what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of who we are. The Creative Raven, I spent a long time trying to figure out a name for it, and Raven is my spirit animal because they're always misinterpreted for being something that's bad, like a bad omen, but they're very, very smart, intelligent birds. And just very sleek looking, and then add the creative process, and it just kind of became the Creative Raven.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What do you love specifically about photography?
You've got one picture and you're telling a story with one picture, and art is subjective already. So different people can look at one picture and see many different stories, but they're all probably going to come down to one single point. But even with like a headshot or just a portrait, whether it's an actor headshot, or even like a high school senior portrait, what's in the eyes of that person, of that subject? What are they thinking of? What did they do right before this moment? What are they going to do right after this moment? There's always a story to it. And I think it's so cool that, we have plays with stories, we have movies with stories, we have music with stories, but just to see one singular photo very much like it's a canvas, and to tell a story through one singular photo, I think is just so cool to me.
Yeah. Yeah, when I met you, we both were at AUM taking theater. What do you remember about being younger that made you want to become a actor, and what do you love about acting?
Oh, my first show was in the fourth grade. It's called The Best Little Christmas Pageant Ever, and I played this character named Hobie. And it's basically, a bunch of kids putting on a Christmas pageant for the parents, and they're talking about Hobie's character was going to be one of the shepherds, and the teacher was like, "Yeah, so you'll need to get some bathrobes from your dad." And it's like, well, what if your dad doesn't have a bathrobe? And the teacher character is like, well, what does your dad walk around in your house? And my character was like, his underwear. And the whole audience just laughed. And I was like, wow, like I made a whole room of people laugh, like
Yeah.
by one line. And I'm in the fourth grade. I didn't know what technique was or anything. I probably sounded completely monotone, when I delivered it, but they still laughed.
Yeah.
As that kind of progressed, I would do plays here and there, and it wasn't really until high school that I had a realization that people go to movies, people go to concerts, people go to plays and musicals to see someone else's story outside of their own. I always go back to a family who's in debt, or a family who's struggling to pay rent, or struggling to pay their, to feed their kids. I would hope that they're paying money to feed their kids versus paying money for a theater ticket. But you can go to one of these shows and just for like 2 hours, just get away from your own reality, see someone else's story, connect to something. Theater and film are both. You can take people away from their realities, but you're also, sometimes you're bringing up important subject matter, where it's like, hey, this racial division, this stuff, still exists. It's still a thing today.
Yeah.
You can take a play that was written, the 1950s, 1960s, where in that heyday, that was a thing, and then you just modernize it, put in on, and you don't even have to change the text. Just put them in modern day clothes, and it's like, oh, wow, we're in the racial divide of the Trump era, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's not just with acting. I think that's transcends into directing and other things too. But I just thought that was just having that ability.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey man, seriously, you were in class, you definitely stood out. You, Tina, and Brandon, it's quite a few people I remember. I was always impressed with the work that you all put on. Whenever Mickey, whenever we did shows, who inspired you when you were younger?
Probably like Robin Williams.
Okay.
I always thought he was funny. Mrs. Doubtfire and some other things, but even in Mrs. Doubtfire, there's some like serious tones and things that go on in that. And half the time he's just being goofy. Cross-dressed. He always, and then as I kind of grew up, I realized like the pain that was behind his eyes and everything. Similar thing to like, what Jim Carrey's been going through the past 10 years as well. Like these people that put on this show and can make you laugh are like the ones that are always seem to be struggling themselves. But they're not focusing on themselves. They're focusing on making you feel good and laugh. And plus they were just talented. So they always really, really got to me.
Yeah.
Where I wanted that. I wanted the fame and fortune, but I wanted to be that talented, but also make a connection with people.
Right. Tell us about your work as a SFX coordinator and a pyro master.
Yeah. So that started really randomly in 2013 up in West Virginia. We had done a season prior to that. There were gunshots that went off in the show with like real blanks and everything. A couple of like, pre-made explosions and things. And I didn't have like, I mean, I got to shoot a gun a couple times in the show, but I didn't have really any involvement in any of the other things, or like torches and fire and practical special effects like that. But I got a call like the next season, and the guy in charge of pyro, Chris, was like, "Hey, I need an assistant. We're having a bigger season this year, and I need some help." So Tina and I both got contracted to do pyro, and it was really interesting, like nerve-wracking being around explosives and things like that.
Mm.
But there was like this weird love for it, and I think in a way, I think like a weird addiction as well to it. I've always kind of been a pyromaniac. I love fire. Everybody thinks if you handle, fireworks, explosions, or anything, everybody automatically thinks you're cool. And I think that was a big thing for me to stay in it. It was like, oh man, people think I'm cool for this. And I'm like, wow, like, and I already struggle with social anxiety as well. So it was like, oh man, like this is great.
Yeah.
And so I did that as an assistant, and then ended up moving over to a different theater company, the one that I've been with every summer, Huntsville Hills, up in Cherokee, North Carolina. Got promoted to pyromaster from like 2014 to 2019. The whole process is making sure everybody that handles a gun, they're all safe, know exactly what to do.
Right.
Use firing lanes so no gun is ever pointed at anybody, because the whole thing that happened to Brandon Lee during the Crow.
Yep.
Anything can happen, even if they're blanks. Making sure the audience feels safe. Rigging up all of the explosives and fireworks backstage, making sure all of that's safe, making them daily. About 2019, the day-to-day of pyro, like making everything, just got really monotonous for me. Acting itself got really monotonous, and I started to go through like kind of a funk. And I was like, I back to acting, like I don't feel like I'm putting on the same show I used to. So I was like, I think I need a break from acting. I want to focus more on directing anyway, so that'll give me that opportunity. Focus on growing the creative Raven business. That gives me that opportunity.
Right.
But I didn't want to leave pyro. So I talked to my uppers up there and was like, hey, I still want to be involved. I want to break from acting. I can help pick a new team. And while we didn't do a show for 2020, with the pandemic,
right.
They're doing the show right now, 2021. And just a shout out to Cody and Michael, which are my team pyro up there. They're doing great work. But I basically just came back as the SFX coordinator, just kind of designing, making sure they're good when I leave. Since then, I've had the opportunity to work with a couple other little companies here and there, working on an outdoor show for Dracula coming this, September and October.
Okay.
So just kind of, it opened up a lot of opportunities. It's a weird thing with how the ATF laws and pyro laws all kind of coordinate, because it's all on a state level. So, acting and directing, filmmaking, I can just go anywhere for that.
Sure.
With pyrotechnics, I can't take every contract. If I do, I can be maybe a supervisor or something. I can help design. But, some places I go to, I can't physically touch anything because I'm not licensed in that state.
Gotcha.
We can hire other people to do it and touch, and I can tell them what to do. And I actually don't mind that. It's a little less stressful for me with my anxiety, but I'm still involved, and I'm still able to, tell a story with explosives. Like,
right.
We could take any show and put explosives and fireworks in it, but is it going to enhance the show? Is it going to distract? It still has its own level of storytelling, which I think is cool.
Right. Yeah, man. Yeah, the whole experience of that is really cool. I remember I went to Universal this year for the very first time, and I rode a couple rides, but the thing I remember the most was the Bourne. They had like a production of the Bourne Identity movie.
Oh, cool.
It was so cool, man. Just the whole stunts, and it was like everything was very similar to the movie, and people flying and explosives going off. So I'm kind of envisioning in my mind a little bit about what you guys, are doing on that particular side. When you transitioned from the acting, and I remember working with you. And by the way, those of you who are watching, Wes directed my music video, Here We Go Again. Man, I know how serious you take it and how structured you are, over time, what led to your passion for filmmaking and to have that vision in your head about what you want to see, get it on paper, and then be able to instruct that to the actors and people involved. Like Wes, what do you love about that so much?
I think I just have a love for storytelling in general. It always just kind of falls back on that. The way my mind works, it's just kind of always on the go, and I'm always thinking of things. I'm always looking at an object and seeing a picture, or seeing like, oh, I wonder what would happen if, when you people watch,
Right.
sit on a park bench and watch two people talking, and then it's like, okay, well, I wonder what that would look like if they were arguing, it's on a simplistic level. Goes back to like the picture thing. I mean, filmmaking is just moving pictures. I think it's cool how creative you can be with things, even on a technical side. If you're talking about like frame rates and things like that, how creative you can be. You can be creative with lighting, set moods and tones. But then you have the whole other thing, your actors, your other people that are depending on the show, and the show's depending on them.
Yeah.
I know when we first started talking about Here We Go Again, was listening to it, and I was like, okay, I love the beat. I love the hook. My mind just kind of started going crazy with all these different things. And it kept going back to this one idea of like, what was it? Was it Vindication or whatever?
Right.
And I was like, oh, like, wouldn't that be cool? And, I started asking you like personal questions of your life and, through your music career and everything. And
Right.
I was like, oh, this could be a little personal. We're not calling anybody out necessarily. But it's also like theater. It's that it's not just me. It's not just you. It's a whole collaborative process. Me and you talking, Tina's input, not only as like co-owner of the Creative Raven, but, essentially a co-director. Having Chris and Kyle in there, and,
Right.
Russell, and just everybody has their own thing that they bring to the table.
Right.
Same way theater does. There's a purpose for everything.
Yeah.
And myself as a director, I've directed more theater than I have film. I am really bad at delegating. I'm really like, I can tell people like where to move and block, or maybe try this instead, try this action instead, try this tactic. But when it comes to generally like telling other people what to do, I'm terrible at it. That's my biggest weakness. I'm doing some commercial shoots the past couple of months in North Carolina, and my friend Gus is helping me with lighting. And he's like, "Where do you want this light?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Like, it's like you're good with lighting. Just pick a spot and I'll work around it. Like, but that's part of the beauty of it. It's just trust. It's trusting your actors, trusting your lighting technicians, trusting your writers and getting input from writers. But trusting yourself. And one thing with Here We Go Again too. I mean, I was telling Tina this in the car yesterday. That was my first music video that I've ever filmed ever. And like, I thank you for trusting me with it. I'm like, wow, we did a damn good job for like a first music video. Like, we
for sure
really set the bar. And like any person, I go through my spouts of like self-doubt, self-worth, and I'm like, am I doing this? Like, does my stuff suck? That kind of thing that you get like in a spiral and trapped in. And I find myself like every single time this happens since February, going back to your YouTube and just watching that video and just seeing the amount of work we put in.
Sure.
In about a 4-week time span, just about a month. All the pre-production and then 2 days of filming. We shot that in 2 days.
2 days. Yeah.
And it's like all of that work, and it's like, okay, like, yeah, I can do this. Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I was very proud of you guys. I mean, not only for how the outcome was, but just to see how you and Tina work together and just the whole setup, man. I was like, man, this is awesome. What are you currently working on, and what are your future plans with the Creative Raven?
Uh, Big project right now is I'm working with Cherokee Historical Association. They're the producing company of Unto These Hills, the theater company that I've acted at Pyro and a lot. But they own Unto These Hills, outdoor drama. They own the Oconaluftee Indian Village up there, and as well as a retail shop selling Native American crafts called Koala Creations. I'm essentially their production photographer and doing a lot of commercial shoots for them for advertisements. And I'm also filming a commercial for them.
Oh, awesome.
To go on their website. So all of that's, I have like about 3 more weeks of photography and filmmaking to do up there that I'm kind of back and forth when we're not moving. So I'll be like editing that probably up until like February. So outside of that, like, I'm doing headshots here or there.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I'm trying to produce and promote more like work from people of color. So I'm trying to read a lot more like screenplays as well. So if you're a screenwriter out there and you want your work possibly produced, well, Terrance will set you up with my email. You can, email me. I'd love to read. And outside of that, and eventually shooting another music video with you. I know we chatted about it a little bit.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm feeling very blessed about it too, because it felt like I was telling another friend in another friend's podcast that the pandemic sucked. The whole COVID thing sucked. And I know a lot of people were out of work. A lot of people were struggling. For me, I was just very, very fortunate that my business really just started to grow through it. And it felt like since almost a year ago, I've just been nonstop going. And it's like, I have a small retail job and I'm like, do I quit? I'm like, do I need it? But I have it there as kind of like a security blanket, work 2 days a week and finding the time to do all this other stuff and keep myself accountable, keep myself scheduled. So it's like, okay, I'm going to spend this day editing for this person, this day editing for this person. So that can be a little crazy.
Yeah. It's awesome, man. It's awesome. Everything that you're doing. We always do this part of the show. I just kind of throw a couple rapid fire questions at you and just answer to the best of your capability.
All right.
What's your favorite food?
Baked homemade mac and cheese.
Okay. My biggest influence is
Tina.
Okay. What do you do for fun?
My work.
Your work. Okay.
in video games.
Okay. What's your favorite game?
Oh man, that's hard. I would say it's a mix of any Fallout game, any The Last of Us or Last of Us Part 2 or Red Dead Redemption.
Okay. Now you're an actor and you love acting and watching movies and stuff. Who's your favorite actor?
Gary Oldman, like no question. He can play any character.
Favorite director?
Darren Aronofsky. I love how creative he is with his team and his director of photography and the color, the constant movement of the camera. The camera is like always a character itself. And I just think that's so cool.
Favorite actress?
Viola Davis, hands
awesome.
down.
Yeah, she's awesome. What's your favorite movie genre? Tough.
It's going to be suspense, but it's also like psychological thriller, but also horror. I love scary movies.
Okay. The first thing I do in the morning is
make me some coffee.
Coffee. All right. What do you enjoy about being a cat dad?
Oh man, just the cuddles, the kitty kisses, purring, just the love.
Yeah. Marvel or DC Comics?
DC, hands down. Batman, Riddler,
Yeah.
Joker, hands
Me,
down.
definitely same here. And lastly, I want my legacy to be.
I want to make an impact. I would love, whenever I leave this place, I ultimately want to inspire people to be more empathetic, more compassionate to others, to listen to other people, to understand, give more people a chance. We're always so quick to judge people immediately. I'm guilty of it. But sometimes we just need to take a step back and just observe, just listen, feel freely. That's what I would want.
For sure. Wes, man, I definitely appreciate you taking, time out of your schedule to do this.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you.
I know you're so busy, and I just appreciate everything that you're doing. Anyone that's interested in maybe a headshot or getting you to do some work for them, or also maybe ordering some of your merch, tell them how can they reach out to you, give them your social media platforms as well as your website.
The best two places to reach me are www.creativeravenmedia.com. Instagram's probably the fastest way to reach me. That's at the.creative.raven. Just shoot me a DM anytime. We can talk about prices, or we can just talk about art. We don't even have to talk about money at all.
Yeah. Wes, man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate what you're doing, and keep it up. Give Tina my love, and
Absolutely,
and just keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and I'm proud of you, man. You were doing killer work out there.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this week's episode of The Stage Is Mine. Definitely connect with us, and we got more great shows coming up for you. All right, everybody, take care. I want to thank everybody for their support, those of you that have been watching all of our podcasts. If you're interested in donating to the Stage Is Mine podcast, you can send that two ways, via PayPal or Cash App. Our Cash App is Terry from the A, and our PayPal is doubleetvmedia.101. Support this machine today to help us continue to do what we're doing. Also, if you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the Stage Is Mine podcast, email me today at doubleetv@yahoo.com or call 334-498-5394. Thank you very much. I want to thank you for tuning in to today's program. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell for all things pertaining to the Stage Is Mine podcast. Until next time, take care.
Broke, give everything, better yet, give your all. They don't want to see you win, nevertheless, show evolve. Want to see my demise, you can be in for a surprise, cause the sun ain't about to set.